how do you feel about the belief of believing church should be like a slice of heaven? So when you walk in there, you should. Now, granted, that's mostly a Middle Ages thing where people didn't see color as often as we do now with our smartphones. But I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
So I get in trouble when I talk about things like this because I absolutely disagree with a whole lot of stuff, even in our time that we see. When you mentioned church to be a little slice of heaven, it reminds me of a seminar that I went through. And the seminar was, and if anybody's watching this, that you're in the seminar, you brought me to the seminar, please understand this is my personal thoughts. Because there's times that some of my overseers will hear me say this. But so I went to this seminar, and the whole seminar was on the idea of church growth. And I think they used that term, church should be a slice of heaven. So some years ago, when church growth became the plan for church, and it became this big move, because if you're not growing, you're dying, and churches should be growing, and we should all be aspiring to be this mega church thing. So the plan was when starting a church that people would go into the community, a group of people, say we would do it. We would come up with this Q&A for the people. And we would go knock on doors, and we would just ask them this one basic question: what, in your mind, what is the perfect church? And we would write down their answers. We would have a great children's ministry, and a great coffee shop, and a bookstore, and they would play a mix of traditional music and contemporary music, and the seats would be nice and cushiony because we don't like pews. And there would be attenders in the parking lot, and it would just be, we would get the idea of whatever these people, whatever our neighborhoods and communities would see in a perfect church. And then we would come together and we would devise a plan to build this perfect church. Because what we want is for the community to love what we're doing. And that was the idea of a little slice of heaven. So when I hear that term, it turns me off. Because I think that's ridiculous, that we want to give the world exactly what they desire so they will come to church. Because what the church is offering is exactly what the world needs, not what they desire. So on the other side of that, the church to be a little slice of heaven, I would think, well, it's the presence of God. And it's the unity of believers. In that sense, I want our ministry here to be a little slice of heaven, in the sense that I want, when people come here, when people interact here and attend here, I want them to feel like they're among family, that they're among people that aren't looking down on them and aren't judging them, that we can all be who we are, and yet we're all following Christ. Because that's what heaven is. It's people from every tribe, nation, and tongue, people from all different walks of life, but they have this one thing in common, and that thing is Jesus. So in that sense, I can agree that church should be a little slice of heaven, but in the mentality of what I've seen in people's mentality when they think that, well, my little slice of heaven is a nice little house on the lake, or a nice little cabin in the woods, or a house on the golf course. That's their idea of a slice of heaven. And with that in mind, trying to conform church to appeal to everyone so that they will come and they will be here and they will contribute, and that's a turn off for me, because I don't think, because that to me we're just conforming to the world, and that's not my intention. I can go a lot further, but I'm going to stop. You can be free, and we're here to help.
Praise God! Amen.